This is PSN Newsrun, streaming exclusively on YouTube.
Our top stories: power sector clears debt and attracts investment. And Nigeria hit with stricter visa rules by the UAE. And now, details. The federal government has announced a $32.8 billion power reform plan to expand access, clear debts, and attract private investment, aiming for universal electricity by 2030. Joycelyn is on the news desk.
The federal government says ongoing power sector reforms are designed to place Nigeria's electricity market on a sustainable, bankable path critical for long-term economic growth. Speaking at the Mission 300 Stakeholders Engagement in Abuja, Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, said the estimated investment for the Mission 300 Compact stands at $32.8 billion, with $15.5 billion expected from private sector partners. The initiative aims to connect 300 million unserved people across Africa to electricity by 2030. Adelabu called on development partners, civil society and private financiers to align efforts under Nigeria's Effort Compact and help accelerate access to power and clean cooking. He emphasized that universal energy access must translate into practical benefits, powering homes, schools, hospitals and industries. He highlighted priority reforms including clearing 4 trillion naira in unpaid subsidies to generation companies as of December 2024, transitioning to a cost-reflective tariff system with targeted subsidies for the poor, expanding transmission infrastructure to stabilize the national grid and end frequent collapses, boosting local distribution through the Presidential Metering Initiative and World Bank's DISREP program. On generation, Adelabu stressed plans to recover idle capacities and diversify Nigeria's energy mix with cheaper, cleaner sources to ensure energy security. He also noted efforts to expand renewable energy via rural electrification and invest in human capital through training programs aimed at reducing import dependence and promoting local content in the energy sector. Finance Minister Mr. Wale Edun, speaking from Brazil, revealed that the reforms have already led to a 40% rise in power distribution in the first quarter of 2025, calling the sector transformation a catalyst for job creation and economic revival. Adelabu credited partners like the World Bank, African Development Bank, Rockefeller Foundation, and JIP for backing the Mission 300 initiative. He reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to the Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration, which sets a path to universal energy access by 2030, increasing electricity access by 9% annually, and clean cooking by 25%. Reporting for PS News, I'm Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada.
Nigeria has been hit with stricter visa rules by the United Arab Emirates, which has suspended transit and tourist visas for Nigerians aged 18 to 46 traveling alone, marking the second major policy change in less than a year. Ella is on this report.
In a move that further restricts travel opportunities for Nigerian nationals, the United Arab Emirates (UAE) has amended its visa policy, halting transit and tourist visa issuance to Nigerians aged between 18 and 46 years who intend to travel alone. This new directive, issued to travel agencies on Tuesday, marks the second major policy change targeting Nigerians in less than a year. According to the UAE government, individuals with the affected age range will no longer be eligible for tourism or transit visas unless traveling in a group or under special exceptions. Additionally, Nigerians aged 45 years and above are now required to submit a personal bank statement covering the past 6 months, with each month's ending balance showing at least $10,000 or its naira equivalent. This financial documentation will be mandatory for visa consideration, signaling a stricter financial scrutiny process. The reason for the new restrictions has not been officially stated. However, diplomatic observers point to concerns over migration trends, past visa overstay violations, and ongoing efforts to tighten border security following regional instability. The UAE had previously suspended the issuance of work visas to Nigerians in 2022, citing similar concerns. The new visa rules come at a time when Russia, the US, and several EU countries have also revised their immigration and visa frameworks in response to geopolitical shifts, labor market concerns, and post-pandemic travel surges. These changes are expected to impact thousands of Nigerians who transit through or visit the UAE for tourism, business, or connecting flights. Travel agencies are advising clients to seek clarification or consider alternate destinations pending a formal diplomatic review of the policy. While the UAE has not specified how long the restrictions will remain in effect, Nigerian authorities have yet to issue an official response. Ella Okechukwu, PS News.
CAPA has raised alarm over Nigerians' sugary drink tax, calling the current 10 naira per litre rate too weak to curb rising health risk linked to excessive sugar consumption. Joycelyn is here to tell us more.
The Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA, has raised fresh concerns over Nigeria's sugar-sweetened beverage tax, warning that the current 10 naira per litre is too low to protect public health or influence consumer behavior. Speaking at a media roundtable in Abuja, CAPA's Executive Director, Akimbode Oluwafemi, described the existing tax as ineffective in curbing the rising consumption of sugary drinks, which are strongly linked to diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and other non-communicable diseases. He called on the government to review the tax upward and channel proceeds into strengthening Nigeria's public health infrastructure.
For us in CAPA, we are recommending from the current 10 naira a litre, which is like 3 naira on your 33 CL, to 130 naira per litre. That's exactly what we're saying now, that when all the global institutions are saying this is the way to go, and governments around the world are saying this is the way to go, Nigeria cannot afford to delay. I mean, the issue is that the president now needs to initiate the administrative processes, either through the Joint Tax Board, to ensure that this tax is increased, because in fact the 10 naira per litre was not even adjustable to inflation. So whatever that tax represents has been wiped off completely by inflation.
Reinforcing this concern, Professor Olukumi Olaitan of the University of Ilorin emphasized the long-term health risk associated with excessive intake of sugary beverages and junk food. He noted that the current tax levels does little to discourage harmful dietary habits, especially among young people and low-income earners.
I also canvass for what we call front of the pack warning label, such that even any sugary drinks that they want to sell to the community should have front of the pack warning label. For example, if it has 50 gram sugar, just write it clearly and use it in red. Caution, 50 gram sugar included, which is equivalent to taking it for so number of days can lead to obesity. So anybody that takes it then knows that it is deliberately killing himself or herself. So I think with those two ways, the people will drastically reduce the rate at which they take SSB.
Also learned in his voice, public health advocate Francis Emo from the Healthy Food Policy Vanguard urged for consistent implementation of food and beverage regulations, stressing that meaningful impact requires long-term commitment. Globally, the World Health Organization recommends that sugary drinks taxes should raise retail prices by at least 25% to drive real change. Just last week, The WHO advised Nigeria and other member states to increase taxes on alcohol, tobacco, and sugary drinks by 50% over the next decade, citing the growing burden of non-communicable diseases. CAPA is now urging the government to increase the SSB tax to levels that can genuinely deter consumption and protect public health, while also cautioning against industry pressure and short-term economic concerns. The debate continues over how best to balance health priorities with economic realities. Reporting for PS News, Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada.
Oil prices are back on the decline after a brief rally as rising supply, U.S. trade tensions, and growing inventory concerns weigh on global market confidence. Let's join Joycelyn for details.
Oil prices are slipping again after a brief rally, with Brent crude falling to around $70 per barrel and U.S. benchmark WTI down to $68 a barrel. The dip follows President Trump's decision to delay new tariffs for key partners like Japan and the EU, while warning there will be no further extensions beyond August 1st. He's also proposing a 50% tariff on copper, sparking renewed fears of a global trade war. Analysts say the uncertainty is weighing on demand projections, just as OPEC Plus ramps up supply. The group approved a 548,000 barrels per day output increase for August, with another boost expected in September. Meanwhile, U.S. crude inventories reportedly rose by over 7 million barrels, even as refined fuel stocks dropped, rising concerns of oversupply. Despite rising productions, prices have held relatively stable due to strong seasonal demand and coordinated supply management by key OPEC Plus members. But with Goldman Sachs predicting Brent crude fall to $59 a barrel by year end, the global oil market faces a fragile path ahead. Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada, PS News.
On entertainment news, Sean Diddy Combs is set to be sentenced on October 3, 2025 after his conviction on prostitution-related charges, marking a major turn in a high-profile case that could see the music mogul face up to 20 years in prison. Sam is spilling all the details.
U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian has scheduled Sean Diddy Combs' sentencing for October 3, 2025, following his conviction on 2 counts of transporting individuals for prostitution charges that would carry up to 20 years in prison. Combs was acquitted of more serious racketeering and sex trafficking charges, which might have resulted in life sentences. Prosecutors recommended a prison term of 51 to 63 months, while the defense argues for 21 to 27 months, highlighting a stark difference in sentencing perspective. A prior proposal for an earlier sentencing of September 22nd, agreed upon by both parties, was set aside after probation officials weighed in, leading to the October date. Detained amid legal complexity, Combs remained in custody at the Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center after Judge Subramanian denied his $1 million bail, citing concerns over flight risks and a propensity for violence, referencing documenting incidents and witness statements. The high-profile case illustrates the judicial nuanced approach, recognizing partial guilt while acquitting on grave allegations. The outcome will also shape ongoing civil suits and possibly influence how future cases involving influential figures are handled in the criminal justice system. This is Samuel Akpan, reporting for PS News.
The United States has started arms deliveries to Ukraine after a brief pause triggered by concerns over its own military stockpiles, raising fresh questions about the future of American support. Tessa Phillips is on the international desk.
The United States has resumed arms deliveries to Ukraine after a brief pause, signaling continued support for Kyiv amid intensifying Russian attacks. The resumed shipments include artillery shells, anti-tank weapons, and HIMARS rocket ammunition, critical for Ukraine's frontline defense. The pause was triggered by a Pentagon-led review under the Trump administration, which raised concerns about dwindling United States stockpiles. Key systems like Patriot interceptors and Stinger missiles were temporarily withheld. This sparked alarm in Kyiv, where officials warned that delays would embolden Russian aggression and prolong the war. The Kremlin, however, viewed the pause as a potential opening for peace talks, but those hopes quickly faded as United States intelligence sharing with Ukraine resumed, along with the return of American defense contractors to provide training and equipment support. The urgency was reinforced by Russia's largest aerial assault of the war, launching 477 drones and 60 missiles in a single offensive. The scale of that attack underscored Ukraine's dire need for consistent air defense aid. While deliveries have resumed, the pause revealed deeper tensions in Washington, overbalancing support for Ukraine with concerns about United States military readiness, raising questions about how future aid might be affected. Tessa Phillips, PS News.
You just watched PSN Newsrun, streaming exclusively on YouTube. This is your trusted voice for news that matters. Subscribe, like, share, and stay informed.